Hey guys, this is my first review. This is Real Housewives of Atlanta Reunion Part 1. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened, but those are not the big parts. Those are not mostly important, but the first off, they start with Andy asking them questions about you know, their dresses and asking what their dress is for. And for the most part, nobody really knows what their dress is except for like Phaedra and Kenya. And then they start asking questions. He asked a question about them being late. About Nene's always complaining about how the girls are late, but yet they were late to Candy's workout session. And she says, well, that's only one time out of the many times that they have been late. And then they ask her, who does she feel is the most late? And she says Candy, and Candy agrees because she is the most late. And she says, I'll take the late award, but they talking about me. They asked her about the Chick-fil-A. Somebody asked, did she really need to stop and get some Chick-fil-A before the vacation, and they were already late before the trip, and they were already late. And Candy said, well, I stopped at Chick-fil-A because I called Phaedra up, and Phaedra wasn't ready, so I figured we got time, so I'm about to get me something to eat. And so it's whatever. Like, basically, she ain't caring. And Kenya starts complaining, well, that just holds everyone up. And Candy's like, you're right, but they asked how did I know I had time to get Chick-fil-A, and that's how I knew. So then they asked the question about Kenya, and has anyone felt Kenya's behind because to see if it was fake? Everybody was completely silent. It was dead silence. Nobody said anything, so that was shade thrown low key. Well, everybody knew it was shade, but then Kenya, breaks the silence and says, well, I felt Candy behind before. And then Candy's like, oh, really? Well, I don't remember that. But I think I remember Kenya mentioning that she felt Candy's behind before. And then they start talking about, Kenya starts getting in this victim mode. So they start talking about Phaedra calling Kenya out her name, and how does she think that she's she's a Christian, but she's forever calling Kenya out her name. And Kenya's like, preach, but Kenya then says, she calls me out of my name, and I've never called her out of name, which is a damn lie. Like, Kenya says all kind of things, shady Faye, all kind of things about Phaedra. It don't matter whether she called her out her name or not. She has called her out her name. Kenya's just full of it. It's just the straight victim mode that Kenya likes to play. And then they start talking about, Kenya and Portia start going back and forth. And, Portia starts saying, Kenya always likes to play the victim. She always taunts people, but she plays the victim. And Kenya's like, well, I'm never the victim. It's like, yes, you are. You always try to play the victim, As a matter of fact, they start talking about how, Kenya's like, oh, they asked Kenya, what was the reason why she only invited Candy and Cynthia to Velvet's funeral? And she says, well, it was around the same time that we had started watching the show, and it was a lot of horrible things said about me, and I just wasn't in the mood for it. So then they start asking, and then Portia's like, well, I called her when Velvet died and let her know my condolences, and Phaedra said the same thing, that they called and checked up on her. And Kenya's like, okay, well, everyone called and checked up on me except for Nene. And then Nene says, well, well, I may not have called her, but when Cynthia told me, I said, we should get her another dog, and Cynthia said that it wasn't the right time to get him another animal after, her pet just died. So, and then, Phaedra starts talking about Velvet, and she was like, yes, I do know that Kenya loved Velvet very much, and, that's a hard time for her, and that she, Velvet might be her only true real friend. And then before Phaedra even said that, Kenya was rolling her eyes, and it's just attitude all over the place. Everybody's rolling their eyes when somebody got something to say, but before, Phaedra even gets her point out to say it, Kenya's rolling her eyes. So when she says that Velvet is her only friend, she said, don't do that. Don't do that, Don't be sincere. If you're gonna say something nice, say something nice. You don't have to throw something in with it. Okay? And then they start going back and forth where she's like, well, just shut the F up then. And she's like, really? Like, you gonna talk to me like that? But, Kenya's always the victim, right? So then, they start talking, and Kenya has this scepter. She's like, this scepter in her hand, and acting like she's some kind of queen, and she's talking to Portia. Portia and her is going back and forth about some nonsense. Oh, they were talking about Kenya's, African prince, and somebody asked her, has anyone seen her African prince? And then she's like, well, my African prince is real. There's some people on this couch that seen him. And Portia's like, that's some bull, because I actually know that you tried to pay somebody that was like, from Africa or whatever, and they was some kind of musician, and she know the person that she tried to pay like $15,000, and she's like, you're fake, like you fake with it. You tried to rent somebody just like you tried to rent Walter, and then Kenya's trying to talk over her so nobody can hear her or anything like she does. Then she starts pointing the scepter at her. And then Portia like, if you keep pointing that scepter up at me, it's gonna be up at your ass. And then she's like, still pointed. So Portia snatched it out her hand, threw it on the floor. So then this fool Kenya picks up a bullhorn, and start putting batteries in it, and, Candy and Phaedra is laughing at her like, look, if you gonna have some props, at least be ready with it. You can't pull it out on the show, then get it ready. Like, be ready with it. And they laughing at her. Like, she clowning, and she's trying to laugh it off like, yeah, you're right. But no, they laughing at you. Like, what's wrong with you? Then she pulls it out, and she's like, just talking, yelling in his bullhorn over at Portia, saying all kind of stuff, but she's in front of Cynthia with the bullhorn, like blowing her ear. I don't know what's wrong. I like Cynthia sometimes, but come on now. How you gonna let somebody just have a bullhorn and a scepter all in your face, just reaching over you and basically yelling in your ear? Like, you gotta tell her to stop. That's the point. And that's why, she's sitting by the right person. Because if she was over there sitting by Nene, Candy told her last year, don't have that fan in my face. And, with Phaedra, they wouldn't have had this shit. That's why they sat on the other side. Because Kenya goes too far. I don't know what's wrong with this. She likes to play the victim. Come on now. So then she pulls the bullhorn out, and then Portia gets up. Portia likes, okay, Portia gets up and she's in her face. She's about to hit her. Like, it's in her eye. She's about to hit her. Kenya like, yeah, go ahead and hit me so you can get kicked off, so you can get fired. And then, soon as she grabs her hair, as soon as Portia grabs Kenya's hair, Kenya's like, you're fired, you're fired. And that was so funny to me. How in the hell are you screaming you're fired while you get your ass beat? Then Portia is basically dragging her across the floor. And Kenya's not fighting back or anything. She's just screaming, you're fired. And then they pulled Carlos and whatever. They pulled Kenya and Portia apart. And, all the girls except for Cynthia. Cynthia stays on the couch. She's so scary. Cynthia goes up, Cynthia. The girls go over there to Portia, and they're holding her down on the ground. Nene's putting her hand on her mouth. And then when Portia sees Nene, she realizes what she just did. And she's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. I'm so embarrassed. She's screaming, crying. She's throwing like a little tantrum. I felt bad for the girl. I almost started to tear up because, I understand what that is. Basically, she was being bullied and bullied and bullied all this time for the past 2 years. And she couldn't take it anymore. And she only human. So that's natural. So I feel like Kenya did that on purpose to try to get her fired. Kenya's evil. I don't know what the